Welcome back to the First 15 Rugby YouTube channel. Now in today's video I'm going to be reflecting upon Ireland's brilliant performance over in Marseille on Friday night against France by giving each of the players a score out of 10, as well as selecting my key performers and also a man of the match as well. As always, please do let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree with the grades that I'm going to give the players? As always, it's very subjective, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of difference in opinion, but hopefully we can at least agree on a few of the players' scores and maybe a man of the match as well if I'm lucky. So I'm going to start off in the front row with Porter. I'm going to give Porter an 8, Sheehan a 9 and Furlong an 8. Now, if you had to put your finger on one area of the Irish game that wasn't perfect, it was the scrum time. Ireland was so dominant throughout the game in so many areas, but the one area in which was at least competitive, if not France and Uni Antonio especially, might have got a slight upper hand, was scrum time. So that slightly detracts from the scores of Porter and Furlong, but outside of that, they're really bouncing back to their best. Obviously, the quarter-final wasn't Ireland's strongest game against New Zealand, but the players across the board really showed a brilliant response, especially emotionally in the physical element of the real big hits that they were putting in from the very first whistle. So Porter and Furlong, I mean, they're just exceptional rugby players. Not just exceptional props, exceptional rugby players, meaning their handling, their all-round rugby IQ and ability is really one of the best in the world. And then sandwiched in between them, we have Dan Sheehan, one of the prime hookers in the world at the moment. He's one of those hookers that can really do it all. Not only are his line-out darts incredibly good, he's so mobile and versatile, especially when he's peeling off one of those sort of loop wraparounds off of a line-out. He's like an inside centre, combined with the pace of a winger, with the size of a front rower when he's running into that 10 jersey, and he's a nightmare to defend. And he did get on the score sheet off the back of a maul in this game, so fair play to Dan Sheehan. He's really sort of progressed over the last few years. Thinking about sort of 3-4 years ago, I can't remember where he was, so he's really shot onto the big stage and really put in some big performances. And if he's not the best hooker in the world, he's in the top 2, so Ireland have got a real gem there. Now moving into the second rows, two of Ireland's best performers. I'm giving McCarthy a 9.5 and Tadhg Beirne a 9. Ireland were just imperious in the air at line-out time. Some really good steals from both McCarthy and Beirne. They're a real big presence in the line-out when they go up. If they don't necessarily win the ball, they'll at least put a lot of pressure on the throw. And they did nick a few of Malvaca's line-out balls, which is a real trouble for France. It meant they couldn't really launch off of a line-out, which is one of their key sort of set plays in which they like to sort of set up an attacking play off of. So brilliant work from both of these two locks. Beirne scored his brilliant try, a good line off of Jack Crowley, brilliant waiting on the pass from Crowley, but Beirne took the try well, and he's showing that he's almost a sort of back rower playing in a lock position. I mean, if you think of other teams, maybe if you look at England, if that was Itoje or Chessum, are they going to go through that gap and race under the sticks? Maybe, maybe not. Especially if you look at Paul Valemsa of France, he's not going to make it to the try line from there. So Beirne showed a real good clean pair of heels and some real good pace to finish that one off. And then McCarthy, a player which has been fantastic for Leinster, really stood up in the big moments. A very physical lock. The Irish locks are just so mobile. They're not the sort of stereotypical engine room locks which provide a huge amount of power and not much else. They really are very versatile, and they showed that in this game. You wouldn't feel like it's a bad decision for Andy Farrell to almost play these locks as back rowers on the edges, so they could be wide forwards as well. So just really showing the versatility there. Now moving into the back row, I gave Peter O'Mahony an 8.5. Josh van der Flier, what did I give him? I gave him an 8.5, and I gave Caelan Doris a 9. Peter O'Mahony, I really do think is the sort of gel amongst the Irish team. Obviously being named as captain is a decision that I really do support. There's some other good leaders amongst the Irish team, but in terms of the emotional energy that Peter O'Mahony can really draw from his players, as well as his good captaincy abilities with the referee, I thought that's one thing I was really impressed with in the game. I thought he was asking good questions in the right sort of temper and not getting too emotional when speaking to the referee, which ultimately they don't really like. So O'Mahony showed good maturity in this game, and his tackling and his work rate, he really does back up his words and his motivation through his actions, which is all you can really ask of a captain. Slightly quieter game, I'd say, from Josh van der Flier. Not to say that it was a worse game. Often the quiet performances from Josh van der Flier are some of his best, because he just goes around putting his body all over the field, making some really good tackles, cleaning out rucks, and is really invaluable to the Irish team. And he's really growing into one of the best players in the world. Obviously picked up, I think it was a 2021 or was it 2022 World Player of the Year awards. Now, getting to the best in the world is one thing, but staying there is another. So Josh van der Flier is doing a very good job at trying to retain the status of being one of the best players in the world. Now, a player that I probably would say has surpassed Josh van der Flier is Caelan Doris. Unbelievable performance from him, week in, week out. I think he's probably one of the most consistent performers amongst that whole Irish team. His ability to just carry relentlessly. I hate to know what sort of cardio drills he does in training. He must be sort of dying after every session because his cardio is just phenomenal. This is really shown by the number of involvements from clean outs to carries to tackles to involvements in mauls, anything, anywhere on the field. There's a good bet that Caelan Doris is there. Obviously picked up an assist in this game as well to Calvin Nash. So brilliant stuff from Caelan Doris all round, and he's definitely one of the best number 8s in the world. Moving into the backs, the only exciting bit, no one really cares about the forwards, and that's coming from a fly half who's played for a good few years. The backs are far more exciting, although the forwards don't get enough credit, I have to say. So I'm going to start off with Gibson Park, a very flashy performance from him, gets a 9. One of the best scrum halves in the world, and I'd probably say he's the best scrum half in the world now, considering that Antoine Dupont has moved over to 7s. Well, if we say moved over to 7s, he was still playing for Toulouse on Saturday night, I think it was. So that's a little bit of a question there. Why can't he just play for France and then go to the 7s? Who knows? Maybe he wants to rest up. That would be my guess. But Gibson Park gets a 9. Obviously scored his try. Really good running line off Bundee Aki. The best scrum halves in the world always follow up the middle of the pitch, anticipating a line break. And that was exactly what happened. And Gibson Park's definitely underrated in terms of his pace as well. I can't remember what game it was. It might have been a World Cup warm-up game, or it might have been in the World Cup, where Jamison Gibson Park, due to injury, actually moved to the wing temporarily in a game. And that just shows he's got some real good pace in there, especially for such a small player. He can really move. And then number 10, Jack Crowley, a brilliant performance from him, gets a 9. I mean, I don't know why I'm not giving some 10s, to be honest, but I just don't really like doing it because it means that they've had a perfect performance, and no team's ever perfect. Maybe I could bump the scores up a little bit. I'm sure the Irish fans will have to say that. I could put an extra 0.5 at least on some of these players. But yeah, Jack Crowley managed the game expertly. If there was ever to be a weakness in the Irish team, loads of people before the game would have pointed at Jack Crowley saying he's not Johnny Sexton, his game management skills aren't the same, he's not as experienced. Well, yes, that's probably true, but he showed a great level of maturity in this game. As I said, the waiting on the pass for Bern, and an all-round really good performance, especially off of the tee. And one thing I actually really thought was underestimated about Crowley was his kickoffs. France really struggled to deal with his kickoffs. Got a brilliant amount of height straight down the middle, and the French players were catching it around their 5 metre line, which meant their exit was really shallow, and Ireland then got a really good attacking platform in the French half. So good stuff from Crowley. And then James Lowe, a really brilliant player, really moulding into one of the best wingers in the world, gets a 9. His left peg is just ridiculous. I'd love to know what kicking drills he does, or what sort of pistol squats or deadlifts he does, because he gets a stupid distance off of his kicks, and it is really a differentiating factor for him and the Irish team. The fact that you can kick from your own 22 and get sort of past the French 10 metre line, it turns what would be an exit kick to sort of relieve pressure into almost an attacking position. And yeah, just an unbelievable boot on him, as well as being really physical in defence, which I also think is another underrated part of his game. And then moving on to the other wing, Calvin Nash. Slightly quiet performance from Nash. I mean, when it's your debut, I think it is his debut in this game, obviously bagged a try, which is good, but he was a little bit quiet, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think when it's your debut, just to settle in, and for everyone after the game to say you haven't had a bad performance is a very, very good sign, and he'll only build on this and improve. I thought aerially he was decent. I don't think he's the tallest winger, so I thought he'd really throw his frame around very well. So fair play to Calvin Nash. And then moving into the centres, we've got Bundee Aki and Robbie Henshaw. Now I gave Bundee Aki an 8.5, and I gave Henshaw an 8.5 as well. Really decent performances in here. 8.5. I'd say like a 6 or a 7 is like. I'd say 6 is decent, 7's good. So an 8.5 across the board for the centres shows that they really did very well. Aki is just so good at getting over that gain line. I mean, when he gets over the gain line, it makes it so much easier for everybody else in that team. I mean, when you look at the sort of stereotypical big carrying inside centres, in which Bundee Aki would fall into the sort of category of, he shows he's got so much more to his game than that. His handling, his deft touches, his ability to read a defence is really, really coming along. and really brilliant player. Ireland's top try scorer in the Rugby World Cup as well. And then Henshaw, I remember Henshaw started off the Six Nations, I think it was 2021, the year of the Lions tour, in unbelievable form. I think he struggled to sort of get back to that, but he was very, very good in this game. I don't know if he assisted, I think he assisted Caelan Doris, who then assisted Calvin Nash to go over in the corner, but it was a brilliant pop offload off of the ground to keep the phase play alive, so showing really good vision there. And then at fullback, Hugo Keenan, 8.5 or 9. Let's just give him a 9. Brilliant performance from Keelan. He doesn't really make mistakes. He's very good under the high ball. He's come from a sevens background, so he's got that phenomenal level of fitness. And just to be able to be involved as many times as he is in the game, to be able to sort of see from fullback and spot where the gaps are, I suppose. Even though he doesn't get the ball a huge amount, I bet he's the real big communicating voice in terms of pointing out gaps, and his backfield management in terms of covering the large expanses of grass at the backfield is second to none. So brilliant performance from Keenan and some really good performances all round for Ireland. Now I've got a couple noticeable mentions here that came off of the bench. Cian Healy probably got a few more minutes than he anticipated, but how good is it to see Cian Healy back? I really felt for him and Ireland, but probably more so for Healy missing out on the World Cup. A really devastating time to be out injured, but really good to see him back on the field. I'm not going to give the replacement sort of scores because it's so hard to make an impact in sort of 10 minutes or so, but Healy did really well and it's good to see him back. Kelleher, Ireland are spoilt for choice in the hooker jersey. Kelleher, for some people a few years ago were saying was the better of the hookers, and Sheehan sort of came in for injury cover, so that's just shown how well Sheehan's taken his chance. But Kelleher showing that he's not a hooker to be taken lightly, and he also got on the score sheet later on in the game as well. Baird for Ireland coming on in the back row, second row, so he's quite a versatile player. Was very good, very, very, very mobile. He sort of fits the same mould as a Tyke Byrne or Joe McCarthy. They're not just fat and slow and powerful. They have so much more to that. So athletic and really do get around and cover so many metres around that park as well. And then lastly, Jack Conan, who was my super sub on fantasy rugby, I think. And he was very good. Put in a nice little kick as well, which is always good to see a forward do that. And Ireland were very, very spoilt for choices in that back row. Obviously, Jack Conan was the starting number 8 in the Lions tour in 2021. So you're bringing on a starting Lion as a replacement. That just shows the positive place in which this Irish team is in at the moment. So those are all of my scores. Who would I give man of the match to? In the forwards, I'm going to give it to Joe McCarthy. And in the backs, I think James Lowe's got a big shout. But just because of the anticipation and the potential doubts that were on Jack Crowley, he's going to get it for me. I think it's very difficult sometimes to give a man of the match when the forwards sort of do their thing and the backs do their thing. So it's quite difficult, because you could say Jack Crowley wouldn't get man of the match without the brilliant performances amongst the forward pack that laid the foundation. And similarly, you can say the same thing the other way around. But I'm very interested to hear what you have to say in the comment section down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Which scores would you change? And I'll be all ears in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to you as always. If you could leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it. If you didn't enjoy it, don't leave a like, hit a dislike. I'm all for the feedback. And I'll see you in my next video. See you later, guys.